My perfect marriage shattered when my wife asked for an open relationship. What followed was a twist I never saw coming. I never thought I'd be telling this story, but here we are. My name's Jack. I'm 34, and until recently, I thought I had it all figured out. My wife, Sarah, is 32, and we've been married for 7 years. Or at least we were. Let me take you back to where it all began, and how our picture-perfect life turned into something I never expected. We met in our mid-20s, both fresh out of college and ready to take on the world. I had just started my tech company, and Sarah was climbing the corporate ladder in marketing. We were young, ambitious, and madly in love. The early years of our marriage were like a dream. We worked hard, played harder, and built a life that most people only see in magazines. By the time I hit 30, my company had taken off. We're talking major contracts, international expansion, the works. I won't get into the specifics, but let's just say we were very comfortable. We bought a stunning house in the hills, with a view that would make your jaw drop. We traveled the world, from the beaches of Bali to the streets of Paris. Sarah would always joke that we were living our best lives, and I couldn't have agreed more. But you know what they say about all that glitters, right? It was a Tuesday evening when Sarah dropped the bomb. We had just finished dinner. I remember I had cooked her favorite, pan-seared salmon with roasted vegetables. We were sitting on our terrace, sipping some ridiculously expensive wine I had brought back from a business trip to Napa. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was perfect. Too perfect, I guess. "Jack," she said, swirling the wine in her glass, "I've been thinking." I smiled at her, completely oblivious to what was coming. "About what, babe?" She took a deep breath. "I think we should open up our marriage." I nearly choked on my wine. "I'm sorry, what?" "Open up our marriage," she repeated, her voice steady but her eyes not quite meeting mine. "You know, see other people?" I set my glass down, trying to process what I was hearing. "Sarah, where is this coming from? Are you unhappy?" She shook her head quickly. No, it's not that. I love you, Jack. I do? It's just, I feel like we're missing out on experiences. We're still young, and there's so much out there. Don't you ever wonder what it would be like to be with someone else?" Honestly, I hadn't. Not once since we got married. I thought we had a great sex life. We were intimate regularly. I always made sure she was satisfied, and I kept myself in good shape. I hit the gym 5 times a week, ate clean, the whole 9 yards. I wasn't some schlub who would let himself go after saying I do. "I don't understand," I said, feeling like I had somehow stepped into an alternate universe. "We travel, we try new things all the time. What kind of experiences are you looking for exactly?" Sarah sighed, running her fingers through her hair, a nervous habit she's had since college. "It's not just about travel or trying new restaurants, Jack. It's about exploring ourselves, our sexuality, meeting new people, feeling that excitement again." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. "Are you saying I don't excite you anymore?" "That's not it," she insisted, reaching for my hand. I let her take it, but I felt numb. "You're an amazing husband, Jack. I couldn't ask for better. But don't you ever feel curious? Don't you want to know what else is out there?" I pulled my hand away, standing up. I needed to move, to do something other than sit there and listen to my wife tell me she wanted to sleep with other men. "No, Sarah, I don't. I thought what we had was enough." She stood up too, her eyes pleading. "It is enough, Jack. I'm not saying I want to leave you. I love our life together. I just want to add to it. Enhance it?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Enhance it? By fucking other people? How exactly is that supposed to enhance our marriage?" "Jack, please," she said, her voice soft. "I'm not trying to hurt you. I just want us to grow together, to experience new things." I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. "And what if I say no? What if I'm not okay with my wife sleeping around?" She flinched at my words but held her ground. "I'm not asking for permission, Jack. I'm telling you what I want, what I need. I'm hoping you'll be open to it, that maybe you'll want to explore too." I stared at her for a long moment. This woman I thought I knew better than anyone in the world. Suddenly she felt like a stranger. "I need some time to think," I said finally, turning to go back into the house. "Jack?" "Not now, Sarah." I cut her off. Just give me some space." I spent that night in the guest room, tossing and turning, trying to make sense of what had happened. How had we gone from the perfect couple to this? I kept replaying our conversation in my head, wondering if I had missed some signs along the way. Had she been unhappy all this time? Was I not enough for her? The next few days were tense. We moved around each other like ghosts, barely speaking beyond the necessities. I threw myself into work, staying late at the office, anything to avoid going home and facing the reality of our situation. It was about a week later when Sarah cornered me in the kitchen. I had just gotten home from a grueling day at work, and all I wanted was a beer and some peace and quiet. "We need to talk," she said, blocking my path to the fridge. I sighed, running a hand over my face. Fine, talk." "Have you thought about what I said?" she asked, her voice hesitant but determined. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. "Yeah, I've thought about it. I've thought about nothing else, Sarah, and I still don't get it. Why now? Why after 7 years of what I thought was a happy marriage?" She stepped closer, her eyes searching mine. "It is a happy marriage, Jack. That's not what this is about. I feel like there's more out there for us to experience, together and separately." I shook my head, still not understanding. "And you think sleeping with other people is going to make our marriage stronger? How does that work exactly?" "It's not just about sex," she insisted. "It's about personal growth, about exploring different connections. We can set boundaries, rules. We'll still be committed to each other, but we'll have the freedom to explore." I stared at her for a long moment, trying to see this from her perspective. Part of me wanted to flat out refuse, to tell her she was crazy for even suggesting it. But another part was curious. Not about being with other women. I had never even considered that. But I was curious about what would happen if I said yes. Would it make Sarah happy? Would it somehow magically improve our marriage? What if I agree? I said finally. What then? Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. Clearly, she hadn't expected me to even consider it. Then we set some ground rules. We're honest with each other about everything. We're safe. And if at any point one of us wants to stop, we stop. No questions asked. I took a deep breath, still not sure if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Okay, I said, let's try it. But on one condition. Anything, Sarah said eagerly. It goes both ways, I said firmly. If you're going to be seeing other guys, then I get to see other women. Fair's fair. Sarah nodded quickly. Of course, that's what I meant by open. We both have the same freedom. And just like that, our marriage as we knew it was over. We spent the next few days hammering out the details of our arrangement. No bringing anyone to our house. Always use protection. No mutual friends or coworkers. And most importantly, we'd check in regularly to make sure we were both still okay with everything. I'll be honest, I didn't think much would change for me. I figured Sarah would go out, have her fun, and maybe get it out of her system. I'd go on a few awkward dates maybe, just to say I tried. But man, was I in for a surprise? It started slowly at first. I updated my dating app profiles, not really expecting much. But within days, my phone was blowing up with matches. Turns out, being a successful, fit guy in his mid-30s is pretty appealing to a lot of women. Who knew? My first date was with a woman named Jessica, a 28-year-old yoga instructor. We met for drinks at a trendy bar downtown. I was nervous as hell, feeling like I was cheating, even though Sarah had practically pushed me out the door. But as the night went on, I found myself relaxing, even enjoying myself. Jessica was fun, flirty, and God, the way she looked at me. It had been a long time since I'd felt that kind of raw attraction from someone. We ended up back at her place, and let's just say it was a night to remember. I came home the next morning feeling different. Guilty, yes, but also exhilarated. It was like I had rediscovered a part of myself I had forgotten existed. Sarah was in the kitchen when I walked in, nursing a cup of coffee. She looked up at me, her expression unreadable. "How was your date?" she asked, her voice carefully neutral. I hesitated, not sure how much to share. "It was good," I said finally. "How about you? Did you go out last night?" She nodded, but didn't elaborate. "I'm glad you had a good time," she said, and then retreated to her home office. That set the tone for the next few weeks. I went on more dates, each one boosting my confidence more than the last. There was Alexis, the ambitious law student who could match me drink for drink and wit for wit. Then came Megan, the free-spirited artist who showed me parts of the city I'd never seen before. And let's not forget Sophia, the personal trainer who gave me the most intense workout of my life, and I'm not talking about at the gym. Sarah, on the other hand, seemed to be struggling. She went on a few dates, but nothing seemed to pan out. One guy stood her up, another turned out to be married, and a third ghosted her after 2 dates. I tried to be supportive, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little satisfied. Isn't that awful? But part of me felt like this was karma for her wanting to open things up in the first place. About 2 months into our open marriage experiment, Sarah and I had our first real fight about it. I had just gotten back from a weekend trip to Vegas, officially for business, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't take advantage of the nightlife. I was unpacking when Sarah stormed into our bedroom, her face flushed with anger. "Having fun?" she spat, glaring at me. I looked up, surprised by her tone. Yeah, the conference went well. Made some good connections." She scoffed. "I'm not talking about the conference, Jack. I'm talking about all the women you've been parading around with." I straightened up, feeling defensive. "Parading around? What are you talking about?" "Oh, please," she said, rolling her eyes. "You think I don't know? The constant texts, the late nights, the business trips. You're loving this, aren't you?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious right now? This was your idea, Sarah. You wanted to open things up. What did you think was going to happen?" "I didn't think you'd turn into some playboy," she shouted. "You're acting like a teenager with his first credit card in a candy store." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Oh, I get it. You're just pissed because things aren't working out the way you planned. What's the matter, Sarah? Not finding the excitement you were looking for?" As soon as the words left my mouth, I knew I'd gone too far. Sarah's face crumpled, and for a moment, I saw the hurt behind her anger. But then her walls went back up, and she glared at me with such intensity that I actually took a step back. "Fuck you, Jack," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "You have no idea what I'm going through." She turned and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. I stood there for a long moment, my heart pounding. What the hell had just happened? The next few weeks were tense, to say the least. Sarah and I barely spoke, only interacting when absolutely necessary. I threw myself even more into work and my extracurricular activities. If Sarah wanted to be mad at me for enjoying the freedom she had asked for, fine, two could play at that game. But as the days turned into weeks, I started to feel empty. The thrill of the chase, the excitement of new conquests, it all started to feel hollow. I found myself missing the easy companionship I used to have with Sarah, the inside jokes, the quiet moments. It was during a date with a stunning blonde named Amber that it really hit me. We were at a fancy restaurant, the kind of place where the menu doesn't even list prices. Amber was chattering away about her latest shopping spree, and all I could think was, Sarah would hate this place. That thought stopped me cold. Here I was, on a date with a beautiful woman, and all I could think about was my wife. The wife who had essentially asked for permission to cheat on me. The wife who was now mad at me for doing exactly what she had suggested. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. As I stared at my reflection in the mirror, I hardly recognized myself. When had I become this person? This wasn't me. This wasn't the life I wanted. I went back to the table, made some excuse about a work emergency, and left. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing. When I walked into our house, I found Sarah curled up on the couch, watching some mindless reality TV show. She looked up when I came in, surprise evident on her face. "You're home early," she said, her tone cautious. I sat down on the other end of the couch, suddenly feeling exhausted. "Yeah, I couldn't do it anymore." Sarah muted the TV, turning to face me. "Do what?" "This," I gestured vaguely. "All of it. The dating. The everything?" "Sarah, what are we doing?" She was quiet for a long moment, and when she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I don't know, Jack. I don't know anymore." We sat there in silence, the weight of the past few months hanging heavy between us. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Why?" I asked. "Why did you really want to open our marriage?" Sarah sighed, running her hands through her hair. I thought I was missing out on something. That there was this whole world of experiences I'd never have. But now? She trailed off, shaking her head. "Now what? Now what?" I pressed. "Now I realized that what I was looking for was right here all along," she said, her eyes filling with tears. "I was so focused on what I thought I was missing, I didn't appreciate what I had. God, Jack, I've made such a mess of everything." I wanted to comfort her, to tell her it was all okay. But the truth was, it wasn't okay. Not by a long shot. "Sarah," I said, my voice heavy, I think we need to take a break." Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with panic. "What? No, Jack. Please. We can fix this. We can go back to how things were." But I shook my head, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over me. "No, we can't. Too much has happened. We've both changed. I think we need some time apart to figure out what we really want." Are you asking for a divorce?" she asked, her voice breaking on the last word. I took a deep breath, knowing that my next words would change everything. "I think I am," I said softly. The look on Sarah's face will haunt me for the rest of my life. It was like watching someone's world shatter in real time. She broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, and for a moment I almost took it back. Almost? But I knew, deep down, that this was the right decision. We had crossed a line, and there was no going back. The trust, the bond we had built over 7 years of marriage, it had been irreparably damaged. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and tearful conversations. Sarah alternated between begging me to reconsider and lashing out in anger. She accused me of punishing her, of only wanting a divorce because I had been more successful in our open marriage experiment. But that wasn't it at all. The truth was, opening our marriage had shown me that we wanted fundamentally different things. I had discovered a part of myself I didn't know existed. Yes, but more importantly, I had realized that I didn't want to be in a relationship where my partner was constantly looking for something more, something different. Our friends were shocked when we announced our separation. Most of them took Sarah's side, believing her story that I was being selfish and vindictive. I didn't bother to correct them. Let them think what they wanted. I knew the truth. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly smooth, given how emotional everything had been. We had a prenup which simplified the division of assets. Sarah got the house, I kept my business, and we split our savings. It was all very civilized on paper, even if it felt like my heart was being ripped out every time I signed another document. 6 months after that fateful conversation on our terrace, our divorce was finalized. I moved into a sleek downtown apartment, threw myself into work, and tried to figure out who I was as a single man in my mid-30s. It wasn't easy. There were nights when I missed Sarah so much it physically hurt. Times when I wondered if I had made a huge mistake. But then I would remember the look in her eyes when she told me she wanted to explore her options, and I knew I had made the right choice. In the end, our open marriage experiment had taught me a valuable lesson. It showed me that sometimes, what you think you want isn't what you need at all. Sarah had wanted excitement and new experiences, but in pursuing them, she had lost something far more precious. And me? I had learned that I was stronger than I thought, that I deserved someone who was all in, someone who saw me as enough. As I sit here now, a year after our divorce, I can finally say I'm at peace with how things turned out. Sarah and I don't talk much anymore. It's still too painful, but I hear she's dating someone new. I hope she's happy. I really do. As for me, I'm taking things slow, focusing on my business and myself. I've been on a few dates, but nothing serious. I'm in no rush. After all, I've learned the hard way that a good marriage, a real partnership, is worth waiting for. And next time, I'll make damn sure it's with someone who doesn't need to explore their options to know they've got a good thing. Sometimes, I look back on that night on the terrace and wonder what would have happened if I had just said no. If I had put my foot down and refused to open our marriage. But then I realize, it doesn't matter. If it hadn't been this, it would have been something else. Sarah and I, we were on different paths, heading in different directions. It just took an open marriage to make us see it. So here I am, starting over at 35. It's not where I thought I'd be at this point in my life, but you know what? I'm okay with that. Because for the first time in a long time, I'm being true to myself. And that's worth more than any open marriage could ever offer.